What's up everyone? Alex here. It's been 8 years since the release of the original Catherine on the PS3. Created by former Persona team studio leads Katsura Hashino, Shigenori Sojima, and Shoji Meguro, Catherine allowed the team to create an intimate story that gets to the heart of our personal values and feelings towards relationships. With Catherine Full Body, the team wanted to not only address some of the former's gameplay challenges, but also update its viewpoints with a modern perspective. Join me, and let's all bask in the glory of Catherine Full Body's sweet embrace in my review, hours later. Catherine, the game, is a block puzzle platformer that contains visual novel elements combined with supernatural and romantic themes. You play the role of Vincent, a run-of-the-mill white-collar worker who's dating his high school sweetheart, Catherine, with a K. As the pressure of seeing friends getting married intensifies, Catherine starts to hint at Vincent for them to do the same. What Catherine doesn't know is that Vincent has been having terrifying nightmares of him partway turning into a sheep, competing against other sheep, and climbing what looks like an impossibly tall block structure from hell. One day, however, after returning from one of his nightmares, Vincent finds himself lying right next to a naked Catherine with a C, heavily implying that Vincent had slept with her the night prior, though he doesn't quite remember what happened. It's through this vehicle that the mystery of the game deepens, and the nightmares increase in their ferocity, and Vincent's relationship with both Catherines complicate even further. Similar to what the developers did with Persona 3 FES and Persona 4 Golden, Catherine Full Body adds a brand new story element by introducing Catherine with a Q. Let's just call her Rin for short, and further expanding its gameplay features to allow a wider variety of players to enjoy the game. One of the more infamous aspects of the original Catherine is its steep learning and difficulty curve. The first 3 sets of stages are easy enough on the normal difficulty, but wait until you arrive on the 4th stage. It's where Catherine, the game, bears its fangs. It might sound silly to think that a mere block puzzle platformer can make you feel anything apart from a relaxing time, but Catherine's puzzles are built to stress out even the most even-keeled player, with a time limit in the form of blocks falling underneath you, dealing with multiple block types that can ruin your planned strategy, all the while maneuvering your way through aggressive enemy sheep and damaging attacks from boss monsters. As if the actual puzzle part itself didn't provide enough challenge, Catherine throws so many other things at you that it's no surprise to find that first-time players felt overwhelmed when playing the original game. To help players acclimate themselves with its gameplay, Catherine Full Body employs several quality-of-life features that provide varying degrees of assistance to the player. One quality-of-life feature activates when Vincent is hanging on an edge, which now clearly displays all accessible edges from his current location. Another quality-of-life feature has something to do with restarting from a checkpoint and having the game autoplay a portion of the stage so that you can get back to where you were originally without the hassle of having to remember how you overcame the stage's earlier challenges. And if you really feel that the puzzle mechanics still don't make sense to you, even at the game's easiest difficulty setting, you can opt to skip playing the stages entirely. It might sound strange that the developers decided to add what seems to be a nuclear option to Catherine Full Body's puzzle gameplay, but given the history of frustration the game's puzzles dealt on some of the original's more casual players, the decision starts to make sense. For some, Catherine was more about the interwoven story between Vincent, the Catherines, and the people surrounding him, and less about the nightly struggles he had with his nightmares. And while the recurring nightmare motif certainly provides a worthy reason for anyone wanting to try this block puzzle platformer, I find that the point of said puzzles were meant to evoke the same kind of stress, struggle, panic, and frustration that Vincent himself faced during the game's numerous story sequences. I think that this abstraction works pretty good, perhaps too good in fact, that while players will often end their play session with said emotions, the game can often leave players disheartened and unwilling to put themselves through the hardships of the game's puzzles the next time through. To that end, Catherine Full Body's quality of life features, in conjunction with the many other features it gives you, provides plenty opportunities to practice and learn some helpful techniques that'll aid you with solving these dastardly puzzles, should you wish to spend the time to do so. But what if you're actually one of the savants who not only enjoyed Catherine's block puzzles, but have mastered it to such a degree that you'd like to have more? You're in luck, as Catherine Full Body not only has more than twice the amount of puzzles as the original, over 500 puzzles in fact, but also adds an expanded multiplayer mode complete with an online ranked versus mode for folks who love competitive Catherine. But that's not all. You can even play through the story in a brand new remix mode, which introduces Tetris-like sets of blocks that move in unison when pulled, providing an even bigger challenge for pros who have conquered the game's toughest challenges. The icing to this incredibly diverse gameplay cake is, of course, its story, and Catherine Full Body's drama of romantic woes, while infused with supernatural themes, is as familiar and timeless as the concept of love itself. At the start of this tale, most people will probably think that Vincent is an irredeemable character, perhaps even going so far as to say that his treatment of the women in his life is selfish at best. But after a time, Vincent's motivations all of a sudden begin to make sense, and you begin to empathize with his plight, perhaps even reflecting your own self-image onto the character. From then on, you'll realize that every call you take, every text message you reply to, and every choice you make in the Nightmare Confessionals feel like there's so much more weight than what's been said, and you find yourself mentally justifying Vincent's actions because of how invested you are in his success. And while there are multiple endings featured in Catherine Full Body, 13, up from 8 in the original, your success will vary based on your personal feelings and answers. That is, if you haven't used the guide to get a specific ending in the game. The magic of Catherine Full Body is that a good portion of the experience is allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to make choices based on how you yourself would approach them in real life. Sure, not everyone encounters the problem of having multiple women fight for them, or having to deal with the incredibly disturbing nightmares robbing you of sleep every night, but that's the kind of experience Catherine Full Body provides, if you allow it. And not surprisingly, you might even learn something about yourself in the process. Joining you in navigating through the various twists and turns of Catherine Full Body's story and nightmares are a cast of characters that, after starting the game, felt like a homecoming of sorts for me. It was quite easy to slip back into the mood of hanging out with old buddies like Johnny, Orlando, and Toby after almost a decade-long absence, and seeing Erica and the boss again made me smile. It's a testament to how personable these characters are, each with their own personal struggles and perspectives, and how well they're portrayed both from their animations and voice performances. Looking through the cast list makes you realize that Catherine Full Body's got a reunion of Persona voice actors from all across its modern sequels, with Troy Baker, Kanji Tatsumi in Persona 4, voicing Vincent, Michelle Ruff, Yukari Takeba in Persona 3, and Sadayo Kawakami in Persona 5, voicing Catherine with a K, and Laura Bailey, Rise Kujikawa in Persona 4, voicing Catherine with a C. Brianna Knickerbocker voices newcomer Rin, and her performance is cute and wonderful, cutting through the intensity of the other Catherine's performances. In fact, Rin's addition to the game feels refreshing, and her presence can certainly be felt throughout. There's a real feeling of loss when Rin isn't around, and I think that's enough of a justification for her inclusion as a character in the game. As someone who's quite partial to experiencing real-life stories intertwined with fantasy and science fiction elements, Catherine Full Body is right up my alley. But more than that, it's a game that I never would have expected to be fond of after almost a decade of not having played or thought of it. Truly, Catherine Full Body is one of those experiential video games that sticks to you in the long term, making you think about the choices you've made in the game, while at the same time retaining the curiosity of wanting to see the other endings it contains. It also just happens to be a fantastic puzzle game that you can play in a variety of different ways. Catherine Full Body's moniker embodies what you'll find in its package proudly, even proclaiming it at the very beginning of its story. With that kind of bravado, it's enough to tempt anyone to grab even a tiny slice. And thankfully, that slice comes in the form of a free demo you can download right now. And if any part of this review even made you remotely curious, I definitely encourage you to have a bite of the demo.